Listen carefully, because this moment is not ordinary and you are not here by accident. Something unseen yet undeniable has drawn you into this instant. And if you quiet your heart just enough, you will sense it stirring within you. You have walked through life thinking you arrived by chance, shaped only by biology, circumstance, or the opinions of others. But I am telling you now with holy conviction, your appearance is supernatural. You did not simply show up. You were summoned. You were spoken into being by God, fashioned with intention, released with power, and wrapped in divine purpose long before your first breath touched the air. What you see in the mirror is not merely flesh and bone. It is a visible expression of an invisible decision made by God Himself. Many people their entire lives never realizing this truth. They look at themselves and see limitations, flaws, and weaknesses. They measure their worth by comparison, by failure, by rejection, by the words spoken over them in moments of pain. But God never measures you that way. God does not create mistakes. God does not improvise when forming a life. When you appeared on this earth, heaven was not surprised. Your arrival was not a backup plan. Your presence was authorized. Your existence is approved. Your life carries a signature from God that no human hand can erase. Understand this deeply. Your appearance is not just physical. It is spiritual. When you entered this world, something shifted in the unseen realm. Your birth was a declaration that God still creates, still calls, still appoints, still releases destiny into time. There is a reason you were born. When you were born, there is a reason you were born where you were born. There is a reason you look the way you look, think the way you think, and carry the burdens you carry. God does not waste detail. Every element of your being was weighed, chosen, and placed with divine precision. You may feel ordinary, but ordinary is only a word humans use when they cannot see the spiritual weight of what stands before them. Heaven does not see you as common. Heaven sees you as commission. Heaven sees you as sent. Heaven sees you as carrying something that must be revealed at the right time. That is why the enemy tried to discourage you early. That is why opposition showed up before you even understood who you were. That is why confusion tried to cloud your identity. The resistance you faced was never about your weakness. It was about your potential. God knew what you would carry. So pressure was allowed to shape you. God knew what you would release. So fire was permitted to refine you. God knew how powerful your presence would be. So trials were assigned to teach you how to stand. Do not curse the process that prepared you. Do not despise the struggle that trained your spirit. You did not survive what you survived by accident. You were preserved. Their appearance matters in this generation. There is something about you that the world needs right now, not later. Not when you feel ready, not when you feel perfect. Right now, God releases people into time like answers, not ornaments. You are not here to decorate life. You are here to influence it. You are not here to blend in. You are here to shift atmospheres. When you walk into a room, something changes, even if you do not yet recognize it. Light recognizes light. Truth responds to truth. The unseen reacts to what God placed inside you. But hear this clearly. The greatest battle you will ever fight is not against others. It is against the lie that you are insignificant. If the enemy can convince you that your appearance is random, then you will never step into your authority. If you believe you are small, you will live small. If you believe you are powerless, you will never reach for the power God has already made available to you. The enemy does not need to destroy you. He only needs to distract you from who you are. God has placed a divine mark upon your life. It may not be visible to the human eye, but it is known in the spiritual realm. That mark says you belong to God. You are watched by God and you are backed by God. When you move, you do not move alone. When you speak, you do not stink alone. When you stand, you do not stand alone. God stands with those he sends. You must stop apologizing for your existence. You must stop shrinking to make others comfortable. You must stop hiding the fire within you because someone else is afraid of your light. God did not create you to be muted. God did not form you to be silent. God did not release you into this world to live half alive. Your appearance is an announcement. Your life is a message. Your presence is a sign that God is still at work. There are moments when you feel an unexplainable pull toward purpose, a restlessness that refuses to let you settle for less. That is not dissatisfaction. That is divine summons. That is God reminding you that you were made for more than survival. You were made for impact. You were made to carry something eternal into temporary spaces. You were made to walk into darkness and not be consumed by it, but to illuminate it. Look at your hands. They may seem ordinary, but they are instruments. Look at your voice. It may tremble at times, but it carries authority. Look at your mind. It may wrestle with doubt, but it holds creativity and vision. God placed power in places you underestimated. The enemy pointed out your weaknesses because he feared your strengths. You must learn to see yourself the way God sees you. God sees the end from the beginning. God sees what you will become, not just what you are now. God sees the finished work even while you are still being shaped. That is why God is patient with you. That is why God does not abandon you when you fall. That's why God keeps calling your name even when you try to hide. Your appearance is supernatural because it carries divine timing. You arrived at the exact moment history could contain you. If you had come earlier, the world would not have understood you. If you had come later, the world would have missed what you carry. You are positioned perfectly between promise and fulfillment. Do not waste this season doubting yourself. Do not waste this brief living beneath your calling. There are doors that will open because you showed up. There are hearts that will awaken because you spoke. There are chains that will break because you believed. You do not have to force it. You only have to align yourself with God. When alignment comes, movement follows. When obedience comes, power flows. When faith rises, fear loses its grip. Stop waiting for permission from people who cannot see what God has placed inside you. Stop asking approval from voices that did not create you. God already approved you when he formed you. God already affirmed you when he sent you. God already empowered you when he breathed purpose into your spirit. You are not late. You are not behind. You are not forgotten. And even now, as you read these words, something is awakening within you. That stirring is not emotion. It is recognition. Your spirit knows truth when it hears it. Your spirit remembers what your mind forgot. You were never meant to live disconnected from your divine origin. You were meant to walk with awareness, confidence, and faith. The world may try to define you by labels, but God defines you by purpose. The world may reduce you to history, but God sees you as destiny. The world may focus on your past, but God is invested in your future. Do not let temporary voices drown out eternal truth. There is a responsibility that comes with knowing your appearance is supernatural. You cannot live carelessly once you realize you are called. You cannot remain passive once you understand you are sent. You cannot stay silent once you know you are chosen. Awareness demands action. Revelation demands response. So rise in your understanding. Stand in your identity. Walk in alignment with God. Let your life speak louder than fear. Let your faith outrun your doubt. Let your presence remind the world that God is still forming lives with purpose, still releasing people with power, still revealing himself through those who dare to believe that their appearance is not accidental but intentional. Not random but appointed, not ordinary but divinely orchestrated, carrying breath that was measured by heaven. Steps that were counted before they were taken, and a future that continues unfolding with every moment you choose to walk forward in trust, in courage, in obedience, knowing that even now God is watching, God is guiding. God is working through your journey, continues unfolding beyond what your eyes can see and your mind can fully comprehend. As you keep moving, keep believing, keep standing, keep becoming what God has already declared you to be. Do not underestimate the weight of awareness that is coming upon you now. When God opens your eyes to who you are, life is never the same again. You may try to return to old patterns, old thinking, old comfort, but something inside you will resist. That resistance is not rebellion. It is alignment forming. Once truth enters your spirit, compromise becomes uncomfortable. Once purpose is revealed, mediocrity feels heavy. God awakens you not to burden you, but to free you from small living. There is a reason you have always felt different, even when you tried to fit in. There is a reason your heart reacts deeply to injustice, to suffering, to emptiness around you. That sensitivity is not weakness. It is evidence of design. God did not harden your spirit. God refined it. God did not dull your awareness. God sharpened it. You were created with spiritual perception because you were meant to discern, to see beneath the surface, to recognize what others overlook. Many people live reacting to life, but God calls you to respond with authority. Reaction is emotional and temporary. Response is worded and intentional. When you know who sent you, you do not panic when storms arise. When you know why you are here, opposition no longer defines you. The wind may push, the ground may shake, but you remain standing because your foundation was set by God, not by circumstance. Your appearance is supernatural because it carries assignment. You are not just a receiver of life. You are a carrier of influence. God placed something within you that activates when you step into obedience. You may not feel powerful, but power is not always loud. Sometimes power is quiet endurance. Sometimes power is restraint. Sometimes power is choosing faith when doubt offers easy excuses. God trusts you with power because God knows your heart. God does not distrust deeply. God is not distant from your struggle. God is present in it. God is not watching from afar, waiting for you to fail. God is walking with you, shaping you through every challenge. When you feel pressure, it is not proof of abandonment. It is proof of process. Diamonds are not formed in comfort. You must stop interpreting difficulty as rejection. Difficulty is often confirmation that you are on the right path. If you were insignificant, there would be no resistance. If your life carried no weight, there would be no opposition. The friction you feel is evidence that your movement matters. God allows challenge not to break you, but to show you how unbreakable you are when you lean on Him. There are moments when silence surrounds you, when prayers feel unanswered and direction feels unclear. Do not mistake silence for absence. Silence is often preparation. God speaks not only through words, but through shaping seasons. In the quiet, God strengthens your inner life. In the waiting, God aligns your desires. In the stillness, God teaches you to trust His timing above your urgency. Your appearance in this world was not rushed. God is never in a hurry. Everything God does unfolds with precision. Even delays serve purpose. Even detours carry instruction. Even setbacks hide seeds of growth. When you learn to trust God's pace, anxiety loses its power. You no longer chase what is not ready for you. You walk forward with discernment, knowing that what God has prepared will meet you at the appointed time. Do not let fear define your decisions. Fear speaks loudly, but it speaks falsely. Fear magnifies risk and minimizes promise. Faith does the opposite. Faith magnifies God and shrinks obstacles to their proper size. When fear tries to paralyze you, remember who sent you. Remember who sent you. Remember whose breath sustained you. You are not sustained by your own strength. You are upheld by God. There is a courage rising within you that does not come from confidence in self, but from trust in God. This courage does not boast. It does not seek attention. It simply stands. It speaks when truth is required. It moves when obedience calls. It rests when God says, wait. This courage is steady because it is anchored beyond emotion. It is rooted in know that God never abandons what he appoints. You are not here to live disconnected from God, moving by impulse or pressure. You are here to live led. To be led means you listen more than you speak. To be led means you surrender outcomes while remaining faithful to instruction. To be led means you value obedience over applause. When God leads, even ordinary steps become sacred, and even simple actions carry eternal weight. There is healing tied to your obedience that goes beyond you. When you choose faith, others are strengthened. When you choose integrity, others find courage. When you choose trust, others find hope. God often works through individuals to touch generations. You may never see the full reach of your faithfulness, but God sees it completely. Nothing offered to God is ever wasted. Release the burden of needing to understand everything. Understanding will come, but not always first. Sometimes God asks you to walk before explaining the road. Sometimes clarity follows commitment. When you move in faith, revelation unfolds along the way. God rewards trust with insight, not ahead of time, but at the right moment. Your appearance is supernatural because it is sustained by divine intention. Even now, as time moves forward, God continues to shape you. You are not finished. You are not complete. You are in motion. Every experience adds dimension. Every lesson adds depth. Every moment of surrender draws you closer to alignment. God is patient, but God is also boastful. Let go of the voice that says you are too late, too weak, too broken, or too ordinary. That voice does not speak truth. Truth is this: God is still working. God is still forming. God is still calling. As long as you are breathing, purpose remains active. As long as your heart responds to God, destiny remains open, unfolding, expanding, drawing you deeper into awareness, into alignment, into the realization that your life is not drifting through time, but moving with intention, shaped by divine wisdom, held by unseen hands, advancing steadily into what God has already prepared. As you continue walking forward in trust and resolve, carrying the weight of knowing that your presence matters, your obedience matters, and every step you take in faith continues to echo far beyond what you can currently see or measure. There is a sacred responsibility that comes with realizing you are seen by God. Awareness changes posture. You no longer walk with your head lowered by shame or uncertainty. You no longer speak from insecurity or fear of rejection. You begin to move with quiet confidence, not because you believe you are flawless, but because you trust the one who formed you. When God becomes the reference point of your identity, the noise of the world loses its authority over your soul. Many people spend their lives searching for affirmation, chasing validation through success, relationships, or recognition. But affirmation that comes from people must be constantly renewed because it is unstable and fragile. Affirmation that comes from God is permanent. It does not shift with seasons or opinions. When God affirms you, he does not do so lightly. His word carries creative power. What he declares begins to take shape, even if the process is invisible at first. You must understand that God often hides his greatest work beneath ordinary appearances. What looks insignificant and to the world may be carrying the greatest assignment. God delights in revealing strength through humility and wisdom through simplicity. Do not despise the season where your life seems quiet or unnoticed. Roots grow in darkness before fruit appears in light. God is more concerned with depth than display. There is a refining happening within you that cannot be rushed. God shapes character before influence. He strengthens integrity before expanding reach. If your life feels like it is being slowed down, examined, stretched, or tested, it is because God is building something sustainable. Temporary success without foundation collapses. But what God establishes endures. Pay attention to the inner witness stirring within you. There are moments when truth resonates so deeply that it feels like remembrance rather than discovery. That is because your spirit recognizes what was placed there by God. Long before you were aware of yourself, God was aware of you. Long before you questioned your purpose, God had already assigned it. Your journey is not about becoming someone else. It is about returning to what God originally intended. You are not required to imitate anyone else's calling. Comparison distorts vision and weakens confidence. God did not replicate you. He formed you as a unique expression of his wisdom. When you try to copy another path, you abandon your own. Walk the road God designed for you, even if it feels unfamiliar. Authentic obedience always carries peace, even when it requires courage. There will be moments when obedience costs you comfort. God does not promise ease, but he promises presence. His presence is enough. When God is with you, lack does not define you. Opposition that defeat you and uncertainty does not consume you. You learn to move forward not because you have all the answers, but because you trust the one who does. Your appearance is disrupted more than you realize. Even now, your decisions ripple outward, influencing lives you may never meet. God often uses ordinary faithfulness to accomplish extraordinary outcomes. A single choice rooted in trust can alter the direction of generations. Do not underestimate the eternal impact of daily obedience. There is a maturity God is inviting you into where faith is no longer based on emotion alone, but grounded in conviction. Emotions rise and fall, but conviction stands firm. Conviction anchors you when circumstances shift. It reminds you who God is when life becomes uncertain. It steadies you when fear tries to rewrite truth. God is teaching you to listen beneath the surface of life. Not every voice deserves your attention. Not every opportunity is meant for you. Discernment grows when you prioritize stillness. In stillness, you learn to recognize the difference between urgency and guidance, between pressure and purpose. God does not push you into panic. He leads you into clarity. Release the habit of self-condemnation. God does not lead through shame. Correction from God restores. Condemnation destroys. When you fall, God does not withdraw. He draws closer. He teaches, real, and strengthens. Growth is not the absence of mistakes, but the presence of humility and responsiveness. There is a sacred confidence emerging within you that does not seek to dominate or impress. It simply knows where it stands. This confidence allows you to serve without resentment, to speak truth without bitterness, to stand firm without pride. It flows from intimacy with God, not from performance. As you continue walking, you will notice that what once intimidated you now feels manageable. What once confused you now feels clear. This is not because life has become easier, but because you'll become stronger through reliance on God. Strength built through Sir. Ender is unshakable. Your appearance remains supernatural, not because of what you achieve, but because of who sustains you. God's breath within you continues to animate purpose, awaken courage, and draw you forward. Even now, vision is sharpening, and awareness is expanding as your journey continues, unfolding step by step. Guided not by fear or chance, but by the steady, faithful hand of God moving within and around you. As you keep listening, keep trusting, keep walking, there is a deeper layer to this truth that must be understood if you are to walk fully awake. God does not merely observe your life. God engages with it. Every sincere thought, every quiet decision, every unseen act of faith matters. Nothing offered in sincerity is overlooked. The world rewards what is visible, but God honors what is faithful. When you understand this, you stop performing for attention and start living with intention. Many people confuse movement with progress, but God teaches patience before expansion. You may feel an urgency to arrive, to accomplish, to prove something. But God is more interested in who you are becoming than what you are producing. Speed without direction leads to exhaustion. Direction guided by God leads to fulfillment. When you allow God to set your pace, peace becomes your companion, even in demanding seasons. There are truths God plants within you that cannot be rushed into expression. Wisdom matures quietly. Strength develops through consistent trust. Authority grows through humility. God often delays exposure to protect what He is forming. If everything within you were revealed too quickly, it would be misunderstood, misused, or attacked before it was ready to stand. You are learning now that faith is not denial of reality, but alignment with a higher one. You do not ignore pain. You interpret it through trust. You do not deny difficulty. You navigate it with discernment. Faith does not remove challenges. It reframes them. When God is your anchor, challenges become teachers rather than threats. There is a sacred discipline in choosing gratitude when circumstances feel heavy. Gratitude shifts your perspective from lack to provision, from fear to trust. It reminds your spirit that God has carried you before and will do so again. Gratitude is not a response to comfort. It is a declaration of confidence in God's faithfulness. Your appearance continues to carry weight because God sustains it daily. Each breath is permission to continue. Each morning is evidence of mercy. Each opportunity to choose faith over fear is an invitation to grow stronger. God does not grow weary of walking with you. Even when you hesitate, even when you question, even when you struggle to understand, God remains steady. There will be seasons when clarity comes easily, and others when clarity must be chosen. In those moments, you trust what God has already shown you rather than what you currently feel. Feelings change. God's character does not. When uncertainty presses in, return to what you know to be true. God is faithful. God is present. God is purposeful. You are being trained to carry responsibility without losing compassion. Power without compassion becomes harsh. Compassion without strength becomes fragile. God is shaping both within you so that when influence increases, humility remains intact. True authority has not dominate. It serves. It lifts others rather than diminishing them. There is also a refining of your voice taking place. You are learning when to speak and when to remain silent. Words carry power, and God teaches restraint alongside boldness. Silence, when guided by wisdom, can speak louder than argument. And when the time comes to speak, clarity and conviction will flow without strain. Do not fear moments of solitude. Solitude is not isolation. It is communion. In solitude, distractions fade and truth becomes clearer. God often speaks most clearly when the noise settles. If you feel drawn into quieter spaces, it is because God is strengthening your inner foundation. Your journey is not linear. Growth rarely is. There will be advances and pauses, clarity and mystery, strength and vulnerability. None of these negate your calling. They shape it. God works through rhythm, not rigidity. When you learn to trust the rhythm, you start resisting seasons and start receiving instruction from them. Even now, unseen alignment is taking place. Connections are forming beyond your awareness. Opportunities are being positioned. Lessons are settling deep within you. God is orchestrating far more than you can perceive. Your role is not to control the outcome, but to remain faithful in the process. You are not required to carry tomorrow's weight today. God provides strength in measure, wisdom in season, and clarity when it is needed. Anxiety often comes from trying to possess what has not yet been given. Trust teaches you to receive daily, moment by moment, step by step. As this understanding deepens, your life becomes quieter internally, even if externally it remains active. Peace grows from alignment, not absence of responsibility. You move forward, knowing that your presence is not accidental. Your obedience is not unnoticed, and your journey continues unfolding under the attentive care of God, who remains faithful to complete what He has begun as you continue walking forward with awareness, steadiness, and trust. Now let this truth settle deep within you, not as inspiration that fades, but as conviction that reshapes how you live. You are not wandering through life unseen. You are standing before God, every moment known, fully sustained completely, and called deliberately. That this world has not wakened reverence in your choices and courage in your steps. When you rise each day, remember that your breath is entrusted to you with purpose. When you speak, remember that your words carry weight. When you act, remember that your life reflects the one who formed you. Examine your life honestly, not with condemnation, but with clarity. Ask yourself where you've been shrinking instead of standing, hesitating instead of trusting, hiding instead of walking forward. God is not asking you to become someone else. God is calling you to return to alignment, to live with intention, to let faith guide your decisions rather than fear. Lay down the excuses that kept you comfortable but unfulfilled. Release the distractions that pulled you away from what matters most. Renew your purpose by drawing nearer to God in sincerity and humility. Let devotion become your foundation, not duty but desire. Let obedience become your strength, not obligation but trust. When you walk closely with God, confusion gives way to clarity, restlessness gives way to peace, and fear gives way to quiet confidence. You do not need to force transformation. It unfolds naturally when your heart is aligned. Rise with the understanding that your presence carries meaning beyond what you can measure. Life in Way honors the sacredness of being chosen to exist at this moment in time. Let your faith be visible in your integrity, your compassion, your perseverance, and your courage to stand for what is right, even when it costs you comfort. Walk forward knowing that God is near, God is faithful, and God is working through you. Carry this truth with you. You are seen, you are sustained, and you are called. Let it shape how you think, how you speak, and how you live. Step into each day with reverence and resolve, trusting that the one who formed you continues to guide you, strengthen you, and walk with you as you choose faith, obedience, and trusting God above all else.